All right, welcome everyone. My name is Numair Shahzada. I'm marketing manager at the NIC, and I know you all are very excited today because we have with us Amy and Vic. Amy has a range of knowledge. She has studied psychology, industrial relations, human relations. She has 20 years of work experience with multinationals. In 2016, Amy started her first company and she realized the importance and essential nature of crowdfunding when it comes to business. And so she started pursuing her PhD. Right now, she's with the University of Agder, and she's also teaching crowdfunding. She's also teaching entrepreneurship at a couple of programs there with the crowdfunding lab. Is it, Amy?
Yes, it is.
All right, Amy, we're so happy to have you here today. We're live. We have an audience in Pakistan and the world that's been waiting to hear from you. Tell us about crowdfunding. Tell us about the opportunities. Tell us how you're doing.
Wow, that puts a lot of pressure on me. But I'm grateful for the opportunity. And Assalamu alaikum to all the audiences out there who have taken time and showed their interest to join this. It has been a very overwhelming response. I mean, we have some 200 registrations over the link that was sent for Zoom, and some 500 people have shown interest on the Facebook page. So this is great. That means people are ready to hear about crowdfunding. So I'm very glad to have this opportunity to present. I will now start by sharing my slides, and then I
Please
will
do.
present, and then we'll take the question and answer session towards the end. So let's start with our session with a thing or two about crowdfunding, what it is, why, and how and when to do crowdfunding. So being an academic, we always start with a definition. And to define crowdfunding, it is something that you do over the internet via an online platform. And lots of people come with small amounts of contribution, and collectively it aggregates to bigger amounts. But you know, this is a high-tech version of a centuries-old practice. Crowdfunding is nothing new, except that with the internet, it has gone online. Typical examples of crowdfunding, traditional crowdfunding, which in academia we call offline crowdfunding, are churches, mosques, health, education, community projects, etc. One fine example would be, you know, the Statue of Liberty when it arrived from France as a present to the US. You know, they did not have money to erect the pedestal, to have the pedestal to erect the statue on it. So they went and crowdfunded that. So it is something that has been happening globally long, ever since humanity has existed and societies have existed. But with the intervention of internet and crowdfunding going online, what has changed is the speed, the scope, and the scale of crowdfunding. So we see that historically, you know, if we look back, the first online crowdfunding platform that came into existence was back in 2001 called ArtistShare. And from 2001 to 2008, we do not hear too much about it. So the concept is very much there and it is live, but it is not really known. But when the 2008 global crisis hit the market, the concept went wild, you know, with Indiegogo being launched in 2008. It's a reward and donation-based crowdfunding platform. And followed by that, you know, Kickstarter was launched in 2009. And since then, this has been no looking back. You know, people have started to refer to this mechanism as a platform capitalism. The industry has boomed so much. We will get back to that in the markets trend section of this presentation, but the industry has flourished and it has, left the market or the economists in an awe to see that. But even though crowdfunding has existed for long, the term crowdfunding was coined in 2006. So many examples that have come before, it might not be called as crowdfunding, but that does not mean that it was not there. So why should we crowdfund? On a country level perspective? It promotes entrepreneurship, and once entrepreneurship is promoted, SMEs flourish, and SMEs are known for job creation. So it is a very good tool on a country macro level factor. And most importantly, it is one of the most democratic way to finance your project, because it is by the people and for the people. So the middleman is the role of middleman is kind of evaporating, and with that, the costs are coming low. And also, because of the technology factor, the cost is quite, cost of getting this kind of finance is quite low. And the risk is quite diversified, because a lot of people come with small amounts, even though the amount in the accumulated amount in the end is bigger. Even if the project fails, and entrepreneurial projects are high risk projects, the risk is quite diversified. It is diversified and it is transferred all over, the small amounts of that people have come. So it's not bigger risk in that sense. It also promotes, in line with the risk diversification, number of entrepreneurial projects. So, when you have limited entrepreneurial finance, you have limited entrepreneurial projects going on. So, but when you have include the crowd into the picture, the number of entrepreneurial projects and their funding also increases. It also increases contribution per entrepreneurial project in different business models. And this one I have touched before, that it is now being referred to platform capitalism. So why crowdfund on an individual level for you, all of you who are there, who are entrepreneurs? It is, of course, it is a financing mechanism, so you should consider it. Especially if you want your speed to be enhanced to get the funding. Traditional bureaucratic systems can take a long time. But more importantly, many people look at it as a financing tool, but more importantly, it is also a story about marketing. Because you see, the first contributors to your project are also your brand, become brand evangelists. So it is building your market while you're financing it. It is a double-edged sword in that sense, if you like. There is a very interesting article by Harvard Business Review, which says using crowd as an innovation partner. And also, once your campaign succeeds, you not only have a proof of concept, you also get market validation. And once you get market validation and you have proof of concept, it also gives you kind of bargaining power with future mechanisms of your entrepreneurial finance projects. For example, we see when the campaign succeeds, investors get attracted to such projects, and it is also for investors to consider, because evaluation can be spot on, can be wrong, and in this sense you can see that somebody who comes to you or you go to somebody, it already has a proof of market concept, and it's not just an evaluation done by few people in a room. We also see that through crowdfunding, while you're crowdfunding, you get a lot of feedback from from your funders or investors, which helps with product development as well. We also see that, especially in the entrepreneurial realm, that women are typically discriminated by the traditional model. So this is a good news for women entrepreneurs out there. We see that research shows that women entrepreneurial projects succeed. So this is one way of financing your project, where you will face minimum level of discrimination. And it also extends investment opportunity to a common man. You don't need to be having a huge sum to become a angel investor or venture capitalist. You can go to the market and put in money, small amounts, and become, have investment opportunities in that sense. So how does crowdfunding work? It has basically three main actors. You have platform in the middle. Platform has a dual market. So on one side you have fundraisers, and on the other side you have funders. And what fundraisers do is they prepare a campaign which they launch on a platform, a crowdfunding platform, and funders come and they see that campaign, and if they like it, they decide to give money, and this money is forwarded to fundraisers. So this is a very simple way to explain how it is done. Of course, there are many sophisticated approaches that are being done here as well. This is probably the most important slide, and crowdfunding can be divided into two categories. One is non-investment and the other is investment. In the non-investment side, you have donation and rewards. Donation is basically, goodwill for greater good. In the society, we see a lot of projects being funded. Reward is basically, if you are, let's say, if you're an artist, a musician, and you have a fan base, and you have made an album, but you have, let's say, no money to launch your album. So you go to your crowd and ask them to contribute. And in return, you might say, like, if you contribute, let's say, $500, you'll get assigned CD cover or something like that. If you give, let's say, $1,000, you get to be invited to the launch. If you give, let's say, $1,500, you can have dinner, invited to a crowd dinner with the musician. So different people have different interests, and you try to appeal to those interests by making your rewards interesting. The second is investment. In investment, you have equity. Equity is basically when you give the crowd an ownership stake in your company. You can also do, if you don't want ownership stake, we have seen that people have also done profit sharing. Then you have lending, and lending, we have a variety of ways to lend. It is peer-to-peer, business to business, peer to business, and many different ways of financing. And it is individuals and institutional funders that come and bid on a project, and the interest rate for lending based projects is set by the market. So it is quite feasible, if you like, compared to other mechanisms of lending that exist in the market. So the interest rate is very affordable, if you like. Now, why this segregation is important, like I said, this is very important slide. It's because of your audience, your target audience. In non-investment type business models, we see that the audience is motivated to contribute because of emotional reasons. Maybe they're attached to certain product, or they want to see a product in the market, and there are psychological factors behind this motivation. So understanding your market or your target audience is very important. If you are going to be very money-minded, maybe the crowd in, let's say, donation-based crowdfunding will react to it. So understanding what your need is, which platform to select, which business model to select is very important. And in the investment type crowdfunding, you will see that your crowd or your funder has transitioned from being funder to an investor. And when an investor looks at your project, they look at your, professionalism, your pitch, your market, how you describe your market. So everything comes into, so they are more sophisticated, if you like, in that sense, and they will evaluate your project more so in that sense. So to understand your target audience is also very important to get successfully crowdfunded. When to crowdfunding, I see that when I visit, let's say, incubation centers or accelerators in Pakistan, a lot of people are always talking about and only talking about a financing mechanism, which is called venture capitalists. But, there are many different ways, as this graph shows, to fund your project. And what matters is to understand at what stage, which kind of financing mechanism would suit you. So being an entrepreneur, it's very important to be aware of that. I see entrepreneurs very good at, producing financial statements, cash flows, balance sheets. So they're of their project, but this is project related. Entrepreneurial finance comes out of it. It is also important to know how, when, and what kind of mechanisms to have a basket of mix, things to make the best for your project is important. So typically in a pre-seed stage, you can go for reward-based crowdfunding. In Series A, you can go for equity-based crowdfunding. And in Series B, you can go transition from Series A to B, you can go for peer-to-peer business lending. So in crowdfunding, you can actually start your project from reward-based and then launch another campaign, which can be then sharing the equity with the crowd, and then you can launch another campaign, paced in time. You can launch different campaigns to finance your, because you see, the first time you will get an audience to fund your project, they are your brand evangelists. So this will accumulate next time, and you will gain more momentum. The next time you crowdfund, you will gain even more momentum. So basically, you can, if you like, you can also crowdfund all the way using different mechanisms of or business models of crowdfunding, or you can, depending on your experience, depending on your social network, depending on your personal finances, you can choose different ways. For example, if you're if you have the domain knowledge, if you have the network, but you lack experience, maybe a venture capitalist will be a good solution. But if not, then other mechanisms should come into. So it's very important to understand these different mechanisms to finance your projects. So it's also very important to touch base on the ecosystem of crowdfunding that is required for crowdfunding to flourish, and the risks connected to crowdfunding and how you can mitigate those risks. So in a crowdfunding ecosystem, you need economic regulations, policy to drive, especially in investment type business models, because you see, when you go for donation or reward based crowdfunding, there is no expectation from the crowd for monetary return. But when you go for investment type crowdfunding, which is equity and lending, the expectations change because your funder has transitioned into investor and they require some financial gain back. So let's say if you are if somebody is not very equipped with understanding how to finance projects, and if a lot of people do that, invest all their savings in a risky project and lose all their savings, so it can result in market failures. So that is why it is very important for investment type crowdfunding projects, business models, to have this economic regulation in place. You also need an entrepreneurial culture where you have co-working spaces, incubators, accelerators. Knowledge dispersion also is important in this context, as well as a culture that reinforces all these different things together. You also need community engagement. Social network is very important. Social vetting is very important. Startup events and cultures to build trust is very important. Technology is very important. Access to internet, regulated portals to facilitate processes. It's all very important and reinforce each other. And if you don't have this kind of culture, then you will see that there is unethical or illegal behavior happening, especially in the equity and business and lending-based business models. And that's why you definitely need regulatory support to build market trust. The key challenges here are, like, even though crowdfunding is a very traditional concept, the online industry is pretty new. So you need to educate the market, to spread awareness, and you need regulatory support. And you also need, industry-wise, crowdfunding platform is an industry. So industry-wise standardization of best practices can also help facilitate. So to build the trust in this market, you need this kind of ecosystem. Risk mitigation, if you see on this side, chances of fraud. If there is no risk mitigator, the chances of fraud are very high. With crowdfunding regulation in place, the risk reduces. Government oversight, further risk reduced. Regulated crowdfunding portals, further risk is decreased. And then you will see background checks done by platforms can reduce the risk further. Mandated disclosures, social network, because your social network is also peer pressure for you to perform. Your investor caps and education, and mandated reporting. So the risk can be mitigated if you have a flourishing ecosystem behind it. So what are the global trends in crowdfunding that we see today? Because of Indiegogo and Kickstarter, we think US is the biggest market. The global industry stands, according to Cambridge University report, which does a fantastic job. Our research center is also affiliated with that. So the global volume is 304.5 billion. Globally, the market stands, and the biggest market actually is China with $215 billion. The second biggest market is the US with $61 billion. And the third biggest market is UK with $10.4 billion. And crowdfunding can be done on many levels, on a personal level, on a entrepreneurial level, on an organizational level. But when we talk about entrepreneurship and funding directed towards business, again in China, its total is 82 billion, and in China you have 49.5 billion. In US you have 16.8 billion, and UK is 5.9. So this is funding diverted towards entrepreneurial projects, if you like. So the next is about Pakistan, the story behind crowdfunding. Crowdfunding has been done offline, but online has been banned in Pakistan. But this is a story of yesteryears. In 2018, we saw a lot of pressure building up from bottom up kind of approach, you can say. And this has put a lot of pressure on the regulators to regulate the market. And the good news is that in 2019, the equity crowdfunding sandbox has been released, which means that it is possible to launch a platform in collaboration with the regulators, where they observe you and you learn from each other, and before the final regulations come into place. So while these regulatory problems have been there, and now that we have seen a very good job done by Securities Exchange Commission on this front, Meanwhile, Pakistanis have gone international. I'll share one case with you. It's a case of Pakistani's international success story. It's called Icon Bunny. It's a graphic icons that can be used in marketing, producing logos. Graphic and designers understand the importance of it. And it's called Icon Bunny, and it's a Pakistani campaign. They asked for $20,000 on Kickstarter, and they achieved the $24,000 by 275 backers. If you just Google Icon Bunny and look at the campaign itself, it's a lot of learning experience just there. Observe the way the video is launched and the way video is made, the kind of storytelling that goes behind. And then in the description section, you will see how neatly they have described. I mean, this is a really good, I'm looking at it as from my crowdfunding glasses, and this is spot on. So there's, just by looking at that, you can learn a lot about what different things you can do correctly to make chances of your campaign be successful. It is one of the biggest campaign on Kickstarter's history when it comes to icon-based campaigns. So well done, Pakistan, there. You can also look at how this project was funded. So from the day of the launch of the campaign towards the final day, how this momentum was building up, the progress of the funding, and how it's in the last days actually surpasses what they have asked for. So typically what we see, and in also Icon Bunny's campaign, that there is a U kind of trend, which means that the first days of launch, let's say your campaign is launched for 30 days duration, the first few days are very important, and then we see a dip, and in the last days the campaign picks up usually. So it's the U-shaped trend that follows here. Beyond Icon Bunny, you have Marcor and Mom5 and Persev Power Bank kind of campaigns. You can see it here that have been launched. There have not been many campaigns that have been launched internationally, probably because the market is not aware yet. But there are few success stories in this department of international success. There are also donation-based campaigns that have been launched internationally. For example, Go Get Funding has a dedicated page for Pakistanis, so you can have donations raised. As we can see here, there are different electric powered chair, and different kinds of campaigns that are launched, and this platform has a dedicated page for Pakistan. So there are international platforms where you can launch your campaign if you don't have any resources available. However, if you launch your campaign internationally, you have to keep the cultural aspects in mind and prepare your campaign accordingly to have greater success. So when it comes to Pakistan, the pioneer of civic crowdfunding in Pakistan is none other but Imran Khan. He has done serial crowdfunding. The University of Namal College is an excellent example of crowdfunding. You can go to Imran Khan Foundation page, which is in itself is a platform dedicated to causes from Imran Khan, and you can donate it here. So it is asking from crowd for money. And then you have, Shaukat Khan, like back in 1994, is a great success story of crowdfunding. And of course, for fundraising, Imran Khan went to different people overseas, locally as well, but he also utilized this online phenomena of crowdfunding. For example, Just Giving is an online platform. So back in the days where he started with fundraising, in a traditional sense. Today you can keep on, when Shaukat Khanum launches its branch, for example, in Peshawar, in current days when the market has gone online, Imran Khan has been launching campaigns to raise money. So, luckily for us in Pakistan, we have, and I don't mean to make a political stand here, you can have your political views, but, civic crowdfunding was, Imran Khan has done great. I mean, he has gone by the book, and he has done a phenomenal job with crowdfunding, civic crowdfunding. So this is something to learn and keep in mind. Not just that, right now we are going through power crisis, and building the dams is very important. So what has the government done now that Imran Khan is our prime minister? He has decided to actually launch crowdfunding campaign, and very ambitious target of $14 billion to 12. Somewhere it costs 12 billion, somewhere it costs 12 or 14 billion. But you see, this is quite ambitious. Now, given Imran Khan's track record, and his experience and the understanding of how crowdfunding works, never say never. I'm sure probably he can manage this amount. Having said that, if time is of essence, meanwhile, the industry is suffering. So much industry has moved out of Pakistan, which means jobs have moved out of Pakistan. So time is of essence. So if I may recommend something to the government also, instead of going donation crowdfunding, if you consider equity, the speed will be increased to achieve this ambitious sum dramatically. And you will have dams that are built by the people, for the people. So go for equity crowdfunding because speed is of essence here. So what we do see is, for example, in European Union, there is a platform called Citizen Energy. And I'm giving this example for us on a civic level to understand how countries and governments can come together and participate in civic crowdfunding projects, especially like building the dams or renewable energy. So Citizens Energy is co-founded by European Union's program for energy, and here you see different kinds of crowdfunding. You can go for donation, reward, equity, lending, all possibilities, plus cooperative. So this is done on an EU level. And I think Pakistan can also go and formulate platforms like this and gain momentum, because energy is really required to steam the economy of the country. So government can also take such initiatives. We also have a very interesting report from University of Cambridge, which is called Funding the Sun. And in this report also, you see that World Bank and Cambridge University has come together to analyze the financial mechanisms that exist in the market today. And since they are limited, they are considering and recommending alternative finance mechanisms like crowdfunding. So whenever I tell a story about Pakistan, I'm often asked, what about India? Personally, I think we should focus on ourselves, but for the heck of the argument, let's see what about India. So crowdfunding is banned in India. And but if you look at yesteryears, the Ambanis, the most entrepreneurial family of India, their father, Dhirubhai Ambani, when he was to launch Reliance textile industry, he went to the crowd because the traditional investors said no to him. And he is, in this sense, pioneer of equity crowdfunding in India, and today it is banned. It's amazing. How is that possible? But he is the one who laid the foundations of equity crowdfunding in India. And not just Dhirubhai Ambani, his son now, Anil Ambani, is also, has collected over 10 crore through a platform called Wishberry for Reliance Entertainment. So it continues, And I think it's a loss that it's a ban. It's sad because if you look at facts, India is number one country when it comes to Facebook users, and social media matters a lot in crowdfunding. So it's the number one country of Facebook users. It is the second largest mobile phone subscription, if we look at that, after China. So it is a bit sad. Just like our Securities Exchange Commission, they have this Securities Exchange department as well, and they have tried to come up with a policy, and it keeps going back and forth. So the paper is still in circulation, and no action has been taken so far. So if you were to look at while crowdfunding was banned in these countries, you have, in Pakistan, because donation is not banned, collecting donation is not banned. So you have in Pakistan, for example, Transparent Hands, which is focused towards healthcare. And it's a donation-based platform doing an excellent job. And then you have a pro-social crowd lending platform called Seed Out, doing an exceptional job in Pakistan. And you have lots of plethora of organizations engaged in donation-based fundraising, which are typically NGOs, and crowdfunding is one of the mechanisms, but they have other also kinds of financing mechanisms. In India, you have Wishberry, which is a reward-based crowdfunding platform. Remember, I was telling about Anil Ambani. He used this platform to raise 10 crores. You have Fuel a Dream, a reward-based. You have Catapult, reward-based. You have Keto, donation-based. And you have Milab, which is a pro-social crowd lending platform. So one would question, like, while this was banned in India and Pakistan, how come these platforms exist? The thing is this, you can limit, you cannot limit the crowd, So if you look at donations, any non-for-profit, not-for-profit organization can collect donations. So it is legal in that sense. If you look at reward-based platforms, you can register a business based on, a reward-based platform can be looked as pre-sales, and pre-sales is not illegal. So you can put a ban, but then there are other ways to register businesses and go ahead with it. The important point to note here is this, that while Pakistan is focusing on donation-based or pro-social activities, India has gone ahead with reward. So that is, they have a lot of platforms compared to Pakistan in that sense. So what about COVID-19? Research is still pending, but what we see and hear in the news, like I said, crowdfunding originated from global crisis of 2008. So there is, and now we are in a global crisis situation again. So we hope that, crowdfunding will help facilitate the market. And some of the examples, that I have seen in news, for example, while this COVID crisis is going, this Power High on Seed Invest in the UK, 8 million has been raised in crowdfunding. Seed Invest is an investment platform by this company called Nurex Pharmacy, a better pharmacy. And then, it's also very interesting to note that when it comes to real estate, this market has really suffered in COVID-19. Meanwhile, Estate Guru is again a platform which has raised 2 million on Seeders, which is again equity-based crowdfunding platform. Then you have this fintech mobile app, which has raised 11 million. So there is a huge volume that we every now and then hear. I'm not here to tell you that crowdfunding is booming among the COVID-19 crisis. Every industry is suffering, but here you see the results. 8 million, 2 million, 2 million, 1.1 million. So you make up your own mind. But further, let's look at during COVID-19, what is government's platform, crowdfunding platforms and investors are doing. Government have, especially in Europe, has come up with relief packages for SMEs, and there's billions involved here. Now, to channelize these billions through banks can be channelized, but again, if time is of essence, it goes very slow. So what we have seen, for example, Funding Circle is a platform that has been granted the license to channelize this funding, because crowdfunding platform is considered very near to the SMEs, so the distance is very close, and the financing is going through that. We have also seen some government-backed guarantees. If you are raising on a crowdfunding platform, the state is backing the guarantees to the investors. We have also seen civic crowdfunding rising. There have been city level or communal level platforms that have been launched, or platforms that have been launched, for example, Crowd versus Corona or London Paid Off. So these are two examples. On a platform level, the platform also are giving, guarantees on payments or on investments. We are also seeing that, COVID-19 related campaigns to relieve SMEs have been launched. We also see that between platforms, a collaboration happening. For example, Crowd beats Karuna. We also see that platforms are easing up because platforms also charge a fee, so they are easing up their fee structure to facilitate SMEs. On the investor side, we see that, because there is shortage of capital in the market, it's very good for investors on investing crowdfunding business models, because they get better interests. We also see that, the typical investors that are on the investment business type models of crowdfunding are retail investors. So retail investors are more empathetic, flexible, and more understanding towards SME. So let's say if there is delayed payments, they are more understanding. They're more empathetic than the traditional institutional investors. A little bit about my own research in Pakistan. I am researching on a crowdfunding platform in Pakistan called Seedout, and I am looking platform strategies that have been adopted on the fundraisers side and also on the funder side, like what makes crowdfunding successful in Pakistan, in short. For this, I selected Seedout. Seedout is one of the first Islamic crowdfunding platform. It is doing pro-social lending, which is interest-free micro loans provided to micro entrepreneurs. I visited, remote areas of Bahawalnagar. I met these entrepreneurs myself, the micro entrepreneurs. Here you have Masuma. She is a beautician. You see that her humble beginnings, but I was very impressed by this one case. You see all her products, systematically lined up, clean, even though, the house is not in good condition. She runs the beauty parlor from house. And what struck me the most was that Masuma has 4 kids, and through this beauty parlor, she has managed to send one of the children to educate and become an engineer. So this child of hers is now studying in Lahore and gaining education just from this. it's very heart touching to meet such phenomenal people. And when I asked Masuma that she already has, you know, a beauty salon, why does she want financing from Seed Out? And she said she wants to scale up. For me to see a woman entrepreneur from a village talking about scaling up, you know, there is hope. That's all I can say. So Seed Out is doing very good job, excellent job. And among the midst of this, you know, COVID crisis that we have, you know, Seed Out has collaborated with another platform called Just a Jew, and they have started giving these micro entrepreneurs who are struck by COVID crisis economically the most. So they send a food package which can feed about 5 people, and some clothes, unstitched clothes, pair of shoes, and this whole package they send free of cost. They have also, since right now, not just this, you know, it's also Ramadan, so they also have iftar solutions. And they have also, like other platforms internationally, have been very lenient on repayment of loans. So for example, in April and March, there was no asking for repayments even up till May. And now only those businesses that have opened up, for example, like small corner grocery shop, they will be repaying, but those that are affected the most and are still in a lockdown, they don't need to. So they have done this very nicely. And I think this is a platform to look out for if you want to see how poverty is elevated from Pakistan, and how many platforms can do that if we come together. So it can be not the tool, but one of the most important tools in elevating poverty from Pakistan. On that note, my name is Amy Week. I'm a PhD research fellow at the University of Agder. We have a crowdfunding lab. It's a course that we offer to master level students over a semester. So if you're interested in an exchange studentship program, and if you're interested in our lab, please feel free to go on our website and see and look at the program. We also have a dedicated crowdfunding research center. We are about 6 researchers there. You can look me up on LinkedIn. And you can also follow my YouTube channel, which right now I'm building. So there is only 2-3 videos there, but I think I will be putting more educational videos so you can follow that. And on that note, I must say, keep calm and say Pakistan Zindabad. Thank you. Over to you, Numair.
Wow, Amy. Wow, Amy, that was so wonderful and so insightful. I've shared the link for the university that Amy spoke of here. For everyone watching, Amy is also now a mentor with the National Incubation Center. So that's fantastic news for us, and I hope her as well. This video, you'll be able to find on our YouTube channel later as well. Wow, Amy, that beautiful story of Masuma. You know, we got to see that crowdfunding is legal here, which is great. And you can fund huge amounts. We saw some really great examples of successful crowdfunding being done in Pakistan. We've got a ton of questions, Amy, so I'm going to start asking you some of those. Yeah. So one question that we've gotten quite a few times is, how do you build trust when you're seeking crowdfunding? You know, is it your brand, your marketing? Is it you, your team? Is it, like you said, the video that you put up, it's very comprehensive when you were giving the example of the successful project. What was it? The bunny one?
Bunny, yeah. So first and foremost, what I can recommend everybody who is interested in launching a campaign is to go and explore the market, go and explore crowdfunding platforms. Let's say if you are a project within like Icon Bunny, go and look at similar campaigns, what they have done right, the campaigns that have succeeded, the campaigns that have failed, what they have done. A good video is very important, and a video is a short story, and it's basically the duration or the length of video also matter. Nobody has time, so it's a first hook that you have in establishing your trust and credibility. So do it right, do it properly, and do analysis of similar campaigns, and that will guide you a lot. It also depends on your description. So if you go and check out Icon Bunny's campaign on Kickstarter, you will see the way they have described their project, the way they have introduced their team, and the way they have in the video, the way they have targeted the international market. Like you see a very multicultural kind of video, so these are just those things. Also, what you can do to build trust is to have endorsements, third-party endorsements. For example, this is not an example from Pakistan, but in US, somebody is making, it's targeting, photography is a big hobby. So they are launching products related to or gears, if you like, a photography bag, like to carry your camera in, or backpack, different kinds of bags for the lens and all that. So it's a company that has done a very good job, and they have been serial crowdfunding. And what they did was, for example, because they are going for the camera and photography kind of things, so they got endorsements from the industry, from, let's say, Kodak, like, okay, we like this, they are building the matching bags for our products, for example. So get endorsements. Also check, online influencers that you can collaborate with. So endorsements are also very important to build that trust when you have nothing to offer. A prototype would be good also. And I must say, be honest and be realistic. There is crowd wisdom. You can fool one person at a time, but you cannot fool all the people all the time. So be honest, be realistic, and describe exactly what your need is, and what you're going to use this money for, exactly what stage you're at. All these, build trust around
Right, right. So, I mean, you've done research on the equity funding that's available. Are there any equity crowdfunding platforms in Pakistan right now?
No, none at all. There are a few that claim, but they're not really. Yeah.
So there's an opportunity for startups there.
Exactly.
What crowdfunding platforms are suitable for not-for-profits in Pakistan? Are there any? I'm sure there are tons for
There are,
not-for-profits.
but they're not completely. When I'm doing my research and I spoke with funders that are funding these micro entrepreneurs, and one thing that came up, for example, we have great organizations like, Akhuat, and people are giving donations. I'm talking from the funder perspective now. Donations, or we have other NGOs, reputable NGOs. But what people miss is to select the exact project. That's the beauty of crowdfunding. So if I want to fund Masuma, I can go on a crowdfunding, and Masuma's story is relatable to me, for example, or will touch me. But when you put a hot pot of projects, let's say we want to help refugees, are you going to help refugees build houses? Are you going to help refugees with education? Are you going to help refugees? So people want to know where exactly their money is going and what exactly is receiving it. So this matters a lot. I don't know if I answered your question, or if
I think that made sense. If anyone felt that their question wasn't answered, you're welcome to share it with us on pr@teamup.com, and we'll email those to Amy, and she could share them, her answers in more depth. So, so we talked about equity, and there's equity crowdfunding, but there's also, you pointed out in India, a lot of reward-based crowdfunding. So
Yes.
there's reward-based, there's donation-based, there's equity-based,
No.
probably more.
The thing is this, that until last year, crowdfunding was banned both in India and Pakistan. Pakistan has done a great job, the Securities Exchange Commission, to come up with policy framework for equity. Right now, it's specifically for equity. So the regulations that we'll see unfold are for regulatory, for equity. But in India, the ban is very much there, So we are a step ahead of India in that sense. And what people, and then
Right.
the question is, how come then you can do donation? You cannot do equity-based crowdfunding or lending at all in India, but you can do, donation-based, and you can do reward-based. And the reason for that is not that it's legal, but the way people register their platform, you see. So you can call yourself a not-for-profit, and it's quite legal, and then launch a donation-based company, not-for-profit. And then you can go, instead of going physically, you can go online with people. So there's nothing stopping that if you think of the practicality of things. In reward-based crowdfunding, the kind of platforms that we see in India, they are probably, launched because you can look at reward-based crowdfunding as pre-sales also. It's one fine example is, car. When you order a new car, you pay for it up front, you get the car delivered later, right? It's pre-sales. So you can look at it that way as well. And then you can register it like that. And that is not illegal. So it's funny, who the hell banned crowdfunding? Because this is the crux of our society,
Honestly.
We are crowdfunded. If you look at the examples I have given, the example of Imran Khan in 1994, Shaukat Rana with Dhirubhai Ambani in the 1960s. And if you look at the Asian market, that, China is flourishing. It's a market leader.
Not know that.
Yeah.
Honestly, I also thought, because of Kickstarter and websites like that, I thought it was the US, but China is right up there, leading by a mile, by a lot of miles.
And it's leading by far. So you see, it is the story, our story, actually, if you look at that way, it's, if not anything, it is as much a story of West as it is ours, So our societies have, actually sustained ourselves for our communities are built in a way. So, and one other aspect that I'll share with you, maybe it's too early to share that, but, even though we have, challenges in our market, but, and we have trust issues in the society. But when
that's another question that we've been getting. How do you work around the trust issues?
But when you tap the religious aspect of it, it just opens up, So, whether I trust you or not, I do trust my God, and my God says that I need to contribute to my society. So if you tap on that, spot on.
All right. So keep that in mind, everyone. Another question that we're getting is, and I think you might have answered this, and you might have. So I mean, we're going through COVID right now, and generally you're finding that funding investment's gone a little down for startups. But does crowdfunding present a new opportunity? Because, like you said, it's from the people to the people kind of situation. So do you think crowdfunding is going to be a better option for startups right now?
It's a difficult question because you're asking me to predict. I cannot predict, we have to see how the future unfolds. But if we were to follow the news on crowdfunding, we see a lot of, like the campaigns that I've shared, like Estate Guru, I don't remember the amount, but in millions, and the other company in millions. and the other company in millions. How is millions possible in the start of COVID crisis? Would you get it from a venture capitalist or institutional investors at this moment? Everybody is holding on to money, so how is that possible? So we have to look what is happening, and we also have to look how the government comes together, and the platforms come together, and investors come together, and all
the ideas that the startups come up with at this time.
Exactly. Like I was looking on the internet now, there is a startup who has launched, a specific jumpsuit
I
for
saw that.
traveling. If you're traveling
Right.
air, you can have this jumpsuit and completely be sealed. What a great idea. So it all depends. All depends.
I shared a fantastic idea on my page today, and it was this sort of mask, but it's not on your face. It sits on your shoulders, and it just covers the top part of your body. There's a little fan at the back that brings air in, and it's little your space vessel,
Yeah,
spacesuit.
and I think it was called like thinking inside the box and not outside the box kind of a thing.
Right.
Well, yeah. So people are coming up with lots of ideas, especially COVID-related ideas. Yeah.
So Thomas Scott has asked a question here. He says, have there been cross-national comparative studies of the ecosystem, specifically the four enablers you showed in one of your slides?
Uh, you see, research. It's very interesting question because if you look at crowdfunding research and if we look at market, uh, crowdfunding after crowdfunding became a billion-dollar industry, it got attention of academics.
Mm.
So it's not that academics have been part of the story right from the start. They are catching up with the market. So the market boomed, and then it got everybody's attention. So there is a research, and there is research that is growing. So that's a very good idea out there. Somebody can probably do it, but not that I've come across any study like that yet. But it might be, there is a world is big that there might be some cross comparison done in this particular context. So the research is picking up, just so you know, and it is increasing as the market increases, but it has been lagging behind.
Right. Do you have any suggestions for, say, an educational institute that is working with crowdfunding and how they could go about?
Oh yes, there are number of platforms that are working specifically with educational kind of projects. Even universities have launched their own crowdfunding platforms. It depends if you're a state university or not, because state universities are often funded by the state, so maybe there's a conflict of interest. But other, private universities have their own platforms. Researchers have their own platforms, because research also needs funding, right? So if I was to come down to Pakistan and conduct my research in Pakistan, I need a place to stay, I need the transportation, I have my call. So yeah, this crowdfunding has been for educational purposes. Lots of examples
Right.
there. And there are international, for Pakistani students, please know there are international platforms. Go ahead, Google them, launch your campaign, they will help you.
And would you say it's the same for medical students
All kind of
in
students,
medicine?
all kind of research. Yes, it's no.
That's great. So,
It
Abdul
happens.
Rahman, that's your answer.
It's how compelling your story is, how honest you are in your approach, how compelling your story is, what kind of achiever you have been in the past. All these factors come. So every story is unique. So yes, there are a lot out there.
Okay. Right. Another question we have from Danish Imtiaz here is, if you're coming from the other side, and you want to start a crowdfunding platform, what are some of the things you would recommend he think about when doing that?
Sorry, so if you are coming from outside Pakistan and you want to launch.
No, if you're creating the platform that people will be able to do crowdfunding on startups and investors, sort of a space for them to set up their projects and
Mhm.
like a website like Kickstarter, but in Pakistan.
Yeah. So the question is,
Is he wants to put together a website like that. So, what is your advice for him? What should he think about? He should
you
probably
have,
make it really transparent. Like you said, you need to have that breadcrumb trail. So, when you get the donations, people can see where the money went, what impact it had.
so there is no doubt with technology, transparency becomes very much enhanced. So you have to be transparent. For example, with Seed Out, you can even, they have given you a Google Maps. You can actually see where the entrepreneur is, location. You can go visit him or her. The project technology brings a lot of transparency. You have to be extremely honest. Crowd will kill you if they sus any, it will seriously damage your reputation. So you have to be honest. In your creating the platform as well, it should reflect. So you have to probably consider human design interaction, HDI, how user friendly, the features, the looks, the experience. In addition to
Right.
transparency, you have to think about the software. What kind of software is needed and how you're going to resource it. So so yeah, go ahead, and these are basic things that, and you have to think about dual market. You have to build this market, funders, people should come and launch the campaign.
Yeah,
The fundraisers should launch the campaign. You
exactly.
also have to think about the funders that will
And then
come.
the other market comes.
A double marketing for a platform. So you have to take these markets together
Yeah,
in that sense.
yeah,
That's also very important
absolutely.
to look where your market is, and it's also very important. You cannot have
Mhm.
a
Yeah,
platform that funds every and anything and all that. So have a strategy. What kind of industries you're going to target?
exactly. Have a niche.
Niche,
Yeah,
describe your niche, where you're going to focus. All
niche.
these things matter. Mm.
Another question we have here from Mohammed Wakas is if your startup has a B2B model, um, he doesn't know much about crowdfunding, but do you think that, similar to big organizations, he would have success too?
Of course, there are lots of
Yeah.
business platforms that exist, and actually that's a very interesting area to grow for Pakistan as well. And also, I wonder why nobody has asked, but established organizations are crowdfunding. You know, like big organizations are coming, and they don't lack money. They do it for the marketing effect. It's
Right.
So don't
Very
forget that
interesting.
this is not just a financing mechanism, this is also a marketing tool. They also get feedback from the customers. So business for businesses, business to businesses is also very important. And we see also intra entrepreneurship in it as well. Yeah.
All right. Some of these other questions have been answered in the video, so I would suggest if you joined late, why don't you go back and watch the video? We'll be posting it up on YouTube. We have some questions here that seem more marketing related. Yes, search engine optimization would probably help with your crowdfunding efforts. Would it, Amy? Search engine optimization? I mean, that's more of your website and how many
Yeah.
people are coming there.
It's
That's
the platform is a business itself. So
exactly
every business want to be listed on top. When you search for it, they want to come on top. So yeah, of course.
right. And Abdul Samad, your question is more related to us at the NIC. He says that he's developing a reward-based crowdfunding platform and he's applying for NIC's eighth cohort. Good luck, Abdul Samad. We hope to see you in the interviews soon. And yes, we will definitely support you in whatever way we can. Amy, I think we should wrap it up now.
Great.
Um, any other questions we get in, I will definitely share with you. and then we can post them up somewhere. Thank you so much for today. It was a very insightful conversation, and I hope that we'll be seeing you again soon.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for NIC Islamabad. Thank you to Parvez Abbasi. We have been in touch, you know, he's great for giving me this opportunity to share my passion with the crowd. Anybody who wants to learn about crowdfunding and have specific questions, not just generic questions, feel free, you know, and check out different platforms and observe the market for a while before
Where
you
can
do.
they reach you?
I have
Can
shared.
they just reach out to us or on your
Yeah,
website?
they can do it through you. They can connect with me on LinkedIn. They can send me an email. But the thing is this, when you do get in touch, you know, I get sometimes like, you know, I have this business idea. Can you get me funded? No, I cannot. You know, so don't come with generic questions. Ask me specific questions.
Right.
Find the problem where you're stuck so I can help you. I
Yeah.
cannot stop my life and come build this with you.
Exactly. Show that you've thought about your idea, that you've worked on it, that you've done some research, and then come to Amy if you need that little bit fine tuning or you want that little bit validation from her before you're doing something big.
Yeah, or guidance also.
So thank you. Right.
Or guidance also. But thank you so much. Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah. All right, Amy, once again, such a pleasure. And thank you to our audience today. We had a lot of people, a lot of interest. We're open for cohort 8, our incubation cycle. Visit our website to apply. And if you want to learn more about Amy or the program at the University of Agder, please visit the website. I've shared the link here. We'll share it with the YouTube video as well. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Amy.
My
Hope
pleasure.
to see all of you soon. Have a
Bye.
good rest of the day, Amy. Bye.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.